I want to talk to you about 5 basic mistakes to avoid in your webinar process. Now, these are really simple things, but they can have a huge impact on your webinar if you get this wrong. The first of these is don't be afraid to sell. What often happens with a novice, particularly somebody who's not used to being online and doing live presentations, is that when you move from the point when you're doing the teaching, something you're very comfortable with, you're very confident about, and you go through the transition and then you start selling, there's a risk that your whole demeanor, your whole energy level, your whole approach changes, and you move from being the confident authority to somebody who's really sort of pleading for people to make a purchase. You mustn't do that. You must maintain the same confidence. You've just given them 30 minutes or 40 minutes of fantastic content. You've earned the right to pitch them your product or service. So don't be afraid to do that. Do it with confidence, and that confidence will come across and increase the likelihood that your audience is going to buy from you. The second point, which actually applies to anybody who's doing any sort of public presenting, is to keep your slides simple. If you have lots and lots of text on your slides, then what happens is your audience will stop listening to you, they'll zone out and they'll start reading your slides. So your slides need to keep the number of words down to an absolute minimum, and you need to have lots of images in your slides to keep their minds being ticked over and being stimulated by what they're seeing. Now, just as a free aside here, I actually think it's better to have too many slides than too little. So if you're aiming to do a 90-minute webinar, I would aim to have at least 90 slides. That sounds like an awful lot, but if you keep the slides moving quickly, then you'll keep your audience's attention. Thirdly, build the excitement before the webinar. And what I mean by this is that you have an opportunity in the run-up to the webinar to send emails to the people who have registered for the webinar, basically reminding them that the webinar is coming up. But you can also do this to build the excitement and the buzz about the webinar, and to get them really worked up and interested in what you're going to be sharing with them. You can give them free content, you can send them a free video, you can send them a workbook. But if you build this buzz beforehand, then you'll have a highly energized audience when they arrive, and actually more people will come in and actually turn up for your webinar. If you do nothing in the 24-hour or 48-hour period before your webinar, then the number of people who turn up will be much lower. So by building the excitement beforehand and having this email connection with your audience before they turn up, you're going to get more people there, and they're going to be more energized when they do arrive there. Now, the other side of that equation is you must follow up strongly. If you don't do any follow-up, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Just because people either didn't buy when they turned up or registered and didn't turn up doesn't mean to say they're not still prospects for your product or service. And if you follow up in the right way with those different groups in different ways, then you will optimize, indeed possibly maximize, the sales you're going to achieve from your exercise. So by failing to do that, you are definitely leaving money on the table. And the last point I would recommend that you do, i.e. mistake you don't do, is don't cut short your Q&A. You want to be there and answering as many questions for as long as it takes until people have basically exhausted all the questions they've got, because the longer you stay on the Q&A, the more people will buy. And if they're on the fence and they're not sure and they've got a question they want to ask you, then they'll ask it. If you satisfy them and you answer it in the right way, which is to tie back the answer into the product, then you will increase the chances that they will actually come off the fence and buy your product. So don't just do a 15-minute Q&A session. Make sure you've scheduled your day so that you can maybe do an hour, maybe even longer. And the more that you answer questions and the more you respond to your audience, then the more people will be inclined to buy from you. And don't forget, when you do get a sale or see a sale, then definitely congratulate the person, name check them, and that will give the remaining audience the social proof that people are buying. So Q&A is a vital place to earn more sales from your audience. So these are just 5 basic mistakes you should avoid. And if you handle these issues correctly, you are definitely going to have a major, very easy, short-term positive impact on the success of your webinar.